Hello, this is Joe from Nerd in Korea. We are doing our budget interesting commanders. This time we're looking at the EDHrec top budget Blink commanders. So last week we did Aristocrat and now we're doing Blink. I feel like those are almost polar opposite, right? Aristocrat's all about getting a bunch of tokens down and taking advantage of like death triggers and stuff. And Blink is all about picking up your actual creatures and putting them back down and usually getting ETBs and stuff. So very much kind of a weird polar opposite there. What is this series about? So these videos are meant to give give ideas for good commanders that are available on a budget and look at how to build them. Also on a budget. I am focusing on the commanders that use particular themes from EDHrec right now. We are looking at the top 5 budget commanders for particular themes. Okay, again, Blink this week. So what is a theme? A theme of a deck is a focus on mechanics that really defines how the deck works. Theme is very, very important when you're building a deck. A definition from Draftism. The deck theme provides you with information such as which cards you're probably playing, the most effective spells for each theme, how you win, and sometimes how you avoid losing. This video features commanders that primarily use the Blink theme. So yeah, Blink, or yeah, is another way of saying it. So in the 99, so these are ones that we put in the 99 that are very good there. Another round. This is a newer one. I got this when I did my what? Outlaws, right? I was thinking of every other. I was like villains, not villains. Assassins, not assassins. Outlaws, right? Brigands. Outlaws of Thunder Junction. So anyway. Exile any number of creatures you control, then return them to the battlefield under their owner's control. Repeat this process X times. So what I always want to point out about this spell, this is incredible. The 2 and white is guaranteeing one time you pick up everything, put it back down. The X cost is how many extra times you do that. Alright? So you're always doing it. If you pay, say, 4 and a white, you're paying that X cost once and once again. So that's 1X, and then you're going to be picking them up, putting them down, picking them up, putting them down again. Right? It's always one more. So just an incredible spell. It should not be 23 cents. I think it's kind of stated in a weird way. It's one of those cards that has a lot of text, and this sort of drops the price. Anyway, Soul Herder. So whenever a creature is exiled from the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on Soul Herder. So this can get very big. It's only a 1 and Azorius or white-blue. So at the beginning of your end step, you may exile another target creature you control, then return that creature to the battlefield under its owner's control. So this is just automatically going to blink something every turn, which with these commanders is going to be like crazy value town. Charming Prince. Okay, Charming Prince you want as a target for Blink. It doesn't do the blinking. Well, it does, but we're going to get to that. It's a modal creature, which is always nice. For 1 and a white, it is, yeah. When it enters the battlefield, choose 1. Scry 2, gain 3 life. Scry 2 is really good, especially if you can do that every turn. That's going to set you up every turn, pretty much. And finally, exile another creature you control from the battlefield. Return to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So this is just going to blink, right? Anything you want, you can just blink it. You can only blink it once, unfortunately, because it's going to come back at the end of the end step. But yeah, still very, very useful. Again, okay, another round, 23 cents. Soul Herder, $1. Charming Prince, 176. I do have a Charming Prince. I should get more. Anyway, it sounds weird. Number 5. Yorian Sky Nomad, so he is in 1263 decks, so quite a good number. He is 3 and white or blue and white or blue, so it's nice to have that flexibility. 79 cents only. He does have a companion, we don't care about that basically, so we're going to ignore it. Flying. Hey, yeah, a 4/5 flyer for 5? Not great, not bad. When Yorian enters the battlefield, you may exile any number of other non-land permanents you own and control. Return those to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. Non-land permanent. It doesn't say creature, so all of your mana rocks, you can tap them, use them, and then blink him, and when he comes back, he's going to blink them out and put them back down, and they come back untapped. So you can kind of use this as like a sneaky kind of, mana fixing, or almost a, not quite ramp, I guess, but off-turn ramp. You can set yourself up for all the counter spells you want. Anyway, yeah, as I said, if you blink him, you blink everything, basically. So that's a monster of a card for activating ETBs and such. Anyways, as I said, 79 cents. So the cards we would put in this, Witch Enchanter. For 3 and a white, she is a 2/2. When she enters the battlefield, destroy target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls. So if you could just keep blinking her, you just target a removal, all of the artifacts and enchantments that you want. Crazy, crazy useful. With another round, that's just going to go off so many times. Ether Channeler. Okay, when he enters the battlefield, choose one of these mortal creatures, which is crazy useful. Create a 1/1 white bird creature token with flying. Flying blocker tokens are great. Return another target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. I'm actually putting this in tomorrow's budget deck. He's in that just for that reason. And finally, draw a card. Card draw as your final option is a great final option. Anywho, 78 cents. Sorry, Witch Entertainer is 127. Finally, Flicker Wisp. So when it enters the battlefield, exile another target permanent. Return that card to the battlefield under its controller at the beginning of the next end step. Basically doing the same thing your commander's doing. But yeah, you'll be able to kind of sync them up. You can kind of use that to exile and then exile him and then return him and then exile it and then keep flipping back between end steps. Dangerous depending on what kind of abilities they have. This is important to remember for any blink deck. If you're returning something at the beginning of the next end step, make sure there's going to be a next end step. So if they have like an Obera or something where they can end the turn suddenly, and that end step never comes, all of that stuff stays exiled, including your commander. Right? If you exile your commander until the next end step, and they just end the turn before the end step, it's out for the entire game. You're just out your commander. So depending on what your opponents have access to, this might be a very dangerous strategy. Anyway, 15 cents only. Number 4. Rune of the Hidden Realm. Okay, so he is 2 Bant, which is green, white, blue. And Dex, he's in 1773. So 1773. You can tell by his design that this is an older one. So let's look at his design. He does have Vigilance and Trample, which is a nice combination. 4/4 only though. With Trample, you'd hope he has a bit more. But anyway. Pay 2, exile another target, and tap. Sorry, 2 and tap. Exile another target creature. Return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. Again, this is something that's coming back at the next end step, so be careful. But yeah, you can definitely get some major value. What sets him apart from a lot of the other ones, most of these are Azorius. Being Bant means he has access to green. And you can get so much value out of that green. Anyway, 33 cents. Coiling Oracle. So when it enters the battlefield, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land, put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, put that card into your hand. So it's going to be either land straight to the battlefield or card draw. So if you can blink this guy, that's great, right? I guess, I don't know why I'm calling it a guy, but anyway. If you can blink this snake, whatever. 10 cents. Knight of Autumn. This is actually on one of my modal lists. I do love this card. So for 1, and again, Simic, or not, Selesnya, not Simic. Sorry, Selesnya. That's green-white. Simic was the last one, right? So when it enters the battlefield, choose 1, put 2+1/+1 counters on Knight of Autumn. So put 2+1/+1 counters on itself is not great if you're going to keep blinking it, because you're going to keep losing those +1/+1 counters. If you're going to put her on the battlefield, she's going to stay there. That's fine. But second, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Ooh, that's a big number too. Finally gain 4 life. Probably the second mode, right? Finally, Reclamation Sage. Kinda doing what a Knight of Autumn does, with fewer options. Anyway, so when it enters the battlefield, you may destroy a target artifact or enchantment. Hey, not bad. 2 and a green for 19 cents. The other one I probably should have put on here was Wood Elves. You can keep just putting, wood forests into the battlefield, and it doesn't say basic forest. It just says forest. I definitely should have done that instead. I don't know why I didn't. Anyway, Knight of Autumn 41, Reclamation Sage 19 cents. Number 3. Aminatau. The Fate Shifter. So she is in 1833 decks. So this is a Planeswalker commander from the original pre-cons. So if you remember that, you're old like me and you'll die soon. No, I'm kidding. But you're okay. Anyway, okay, so for her +1, draw a card, then put a card from your hand on top of your library. In the pre-con, this is used to set up Miracle, which I would do. I would still do it that way for sure. Again, the -1 is exile another target permanent you control, then return it to the battlefield. And -6, choose left or right. You can basically, all non-land permanents, you switch who owns them over, which is very funny. I'm not sure how useful that might be. As a plan A, that's not great. It's more like if someone else is doing really good, steal all their stuff, then it's worthwhile. I wouldn't want to make this my plan A. This is my main win con with Commander. Anyway, 129. Again, she is Esper, right? White, blue, black. So the cost is low at least, anyway. So taking advantage of that, like Esper, Baleful Strix. So when it enters the battlefield, draw a card. If you're blinking, that's really, really good, because you're just going to keep drawing cards, and the rest, it's only 2 mana for a 1/1 flyer with Death Touch. It's not great, but it's going to discourage people from attacking you even with flyers, right? Having a flying Death Touch is just like, don't attack me, basically, right? Anyway, 55 cents, Banishing Stroke. Put target artifact, creature, or enchantment on the bottom of its owner's library. For 5 and a white, that's not good. Its miracle cost is a white, okay? That's 9 cents only. Putting it on the bottom of the library, I think in some ways is better than exile, even. That's really, in Commander, that's just taking it out of the game. Unless they've got like River Song or something, right? Finally, Terminus. Put all creatures on the bottom of their owner's libraries. Okay, this is like the meanest board away. Unfortunately, it does hit your stuff as well, but yeah. Anyway, so its miracle cost is once again only 1 white. 1 white to just clear the board of all creatures. Ideally, you're going to bounce all your stuff and put it back down. This is where you're kind of getting a double usefulness out of your blink, because you're going to use it like defensively against your own thing that you're using to like mess up everybody else. Anyway, 81 cents. Number 2. Brago, King Eternal. I'm not sure if it's Brago or Brago, but anyway. Again, yeah, 2 and Azorius, white blue, for a 2/4 flyer. 2/4 flyer for 4 mana? Anyway, his dex, he's in 2,716, so a lot. So whenever he deals combat damage to a player, exile any number of non-land permanents you control, then return them to the battlefield under their owner's control. So 2 things I like about this one. First of all, it is tied to combat damage. That's kind of a downside and an upside at the same time. Okay, so you are going to be able to do this, and it being triggered by and a lot of them are like enter the battlefield, they exile something. Instead, he's every combat he can do this, right? It is only once per turn, but it is repeatable. That's very valuable. And secondly, they immediately come back. It's non-land permanent, so it's going to be not just creatures, it's everything. And also, they're coming straight back. It's not on your next end step. You're not taking that risk. You're just getting them back right away. Once again, do that to your mana rocks. Tap all your mana rocks, exile them, put them back down, tap them again. Oi, oi, oi. 174 for him, so he's getting more up there compared to my usual ones. So again, Cloud Blazer, I think this could go into a lot with him just because he does have flying. I would max out his evasion. Having flying on him is very important because you want to be doing the combat damage. But yeah, Cloud Blazer, getting that synergy in there, really building around flyers is what I would do with this deck. So when Cloud Blazer enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life and draw 2 cards. So you just keep putting him up, putting back down, gain a whole bunch of life, draw a bunch of cards. Draw 2 cards for entering the battlefield is actually fairly unusual. Usually it's draw 1. 2, how many rounds, how often do you cast more than 2 spells? Even if you blink him once per turn, that's going to be 3, right? Your original card draw and then card 2 off of him. 3 cards per turn drawn. You're probably not burning that many that quickly. Anyway, 104. Sorry, I did say that. Next up, Reflector Mage. This is one that's crazy in Commander because you can use it against commanders. A friend of mine used this in the Garth deck. He has this, and it's like, oh, you don't realize how good it is until you see it in action. Anyway, 1 Azorius. Again, so there's 3 altogether. 25 cents only, and when Reflector Mage enters the battlefield, return target creature and opponent controls to its owner's hand. Target commanders, right? Here's why. That creature's owner can't cast spells with the same name as that creature until your next turn. So their next turn comes, their commander's in their hand, they can't cast it. You've locked down the commander for a turn, and even when they do cast it, it's going to cost them mana and all of that. But yeah, what you're really doing is like locking in their commander in their hand for 1 turn. That's a lot. Especially if you can keep doing it, kick it back to their hand, and then they cast it again and kick it back to their hand. That's they only have access to the commander 50% of the game, and you can do that to someone else and they only have access to their commander 50% of the game. So you can just keep kicking people's commanders out, which is hilarious. It's just hilarious. Finally, Warden of Evil's Isle, 2 and a blue. This is getting to that flying synergy I was talking about. So creature spells with flying you cast cost 1 less to cast. So this is the cost reduction, right? Cost reduction on flyers. Very nice to have, and super cheap at 4 cents. Number 1. Okay, what are your favorite Blink commanders? I mean, budget, not budget, I would love to hear. Also, one thing I mean to be asking, which theme would you like me to cover? There's just so many themes, right? There's like thousands, if maybe thousands overstating, but hundreds of themes. So I'm doing the ones that I think are kind of interesting first, but I would love to hear what do you think I should cover? Ganku Future Shaper. So he's only in 212 decks because he is the newest card in here by a long shot. Okay, so he is 2 white blue for a 2/5. Not great, not bad. Okay, whenever another non-token permanent you control leaves the battlefield, choose one. So whenever another non-token permanent exits the battlefield, not dies, not is destroyed, nothing like that, just exits the battlefield. So if you're blinking a bunch of things and putting them back, it going into exile and coming back, just going into exile does trigger this. So you're going to be triggering this probably all 3 times every turn if you build your deck right. So you can make a 2/2 fox with vigilance or white fox, a 1/2 merfolk with flying, or moonfolk with flying, 1/1 rat with lifelink. Okay. And for 3 and again Azorius, white blue, you can put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. That's very much like an endgame thing, right? As long as you're blinking things, you probably don't want to put a bunch of +1/+1 counters down because you lose them when you blink. So, kind of a weird one there, but anyway. And yeah, I think this is an interesting one because it is kind of like a meeting of Blink and Aristocrat. He doesn't have black though, which is a major downside for an Aristocrat strategy, but still you can get a lot of value out of this. Alright, 19 cents. Here we go. So, Muster the Departed. When Muster the Departed enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 spirit token with flying. Yeah, sure, why not? At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died this turn, populate, right? So you can just make copies of tokens. You can really go all in on this token strategy, even though it's a blink deck. Blink and token, usually if a token gets exiled, it disappears. So you usually don't want to put those two things together. That's why Blink and Aristocrat, another reason why they're kind of opposite, but I feel like he does kind of make them fit together, somewhat at least. Momentary Blink, 1 and a white. Exile target creature you control, then return to the battlefield under its owner's control. Not great, but it has flashback. Flashback for 3 and a blue, so it's expensive flashback, but still being able to do this twice is huge. Again, you're going to put another thing like Yorion in the deck or something where blinking Yorion means you're going to blink everything else. Anyway, 5 cents. And Abuelo Ancestral Echo. I can't even say Echo. So he is 3. 1 Azorius for Flying Ward 2. I'm not going to give my ward speech again. And for 1 Azorius, exile another target creature or artifact you control, return to the battlefield under owner's control to begin the next end step. 19 cents only. Oh, please hit like and subscribe. It really does help a lot. Yeah, anyway. The list. Okay. So, Yorion Sky Nomad is 79 cents. I think this might be one of the strongest ones on the list, too. Rune of the Hidden Realm, 33 cents. A little outdated now. I think he's been kind of overshadowed. Aminatu, the Fate Shifter, 129. Brago, King Eternal, 174. Do not underestimate the fact that he's a flyer with that combat trigger. I think when you compare him to some others, you might think it's not as good, but it really is. Ganku, the Future Shaper. I keep wanting to add the. Anyway, take it easy.